Again, now the housekeeping is out of the way. I want to welcome everybody to Happy Hour. I'm very excited because this is actually going to be something we do called the next generation of retail speed dating. It's very different from the other happy hour events we do. And we have someone here who I just admire greatly. It's going to be one of our mentors, someone who I've met some years ago. And to me, his mindset is just there. It's no other than the man himself, Todd Rogers. Hey, Todd.
How's it going, bud?
I'm good. I'm good. So, Todd, this is the funny thing. We're under quarantine, but the last time we saw each other was the day before the country shut down.
Yes, we went into the shutdown with a nice buzz.
Absolutely. Todd and I met up in Boston, and then the next morning, the entire country shut down. So we shut the country down, Todd, you and I.
Exactly.
So, Todd, why don't you let us know a little bit about who you are?
So, so the one thing I'd like to start out first is I'd like to say that I'm an optician. I've been an optician for, it's terrible to say, I don't even know how long, 26 years maybe, 26, 27 years up in Boston or north of Boston. I've had a practice up north of Boston for 20 years. We're on our 21st year. I can't believe it. I like to say that when I first started, I had black hair. And about 11, 12 years ago, I started Todd Rogers Eyewear. And it's definitely a labor of love, and it's something, this industry, as we all know, it grabs you, it bites you in the butt, and it's like, it has you, right? And so, I kind of stepped into that, and here I am.
Well, here for 20 more years, Todd.
Congratulations.
So, Todd, before we get into these amazing current retailers and future retailers, I'll be having dates with you. This is happy hour, so we have a celebrity guest bartender. And we know you and Todd, you and I, we think the world of this person.
Absolutely.
She's hailing all the way from Miami, before that from Italy, no other than Mrs. Julia Valmasoy. Julia, how are you?
Hi, Terrence. I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
Good. It's good seeing you.
Same here.
Yeah. So, Julia, just for everyone, can you let us know a little bit about who you are?
Sure. So I am originally from Italy. Me and my family, we have been in the optical industry for over 23 years. We specialize in eco-friendly, fully customizable eyewear that we mainly produce in Italy and here in the States. Pretty simple.
Excellent. It's amazing. So if you're ever in the Miami area, take a tour to the Thema factory. It's an amazing business Julia has there with her family and all of her amazing team. But it will blow your mind the way they're doing with manufacturing eyewear. So, Julia, what are you going to make for us today?
Thank you. So today I'm actually going to show you how I make one of my favorite drinks called Aperol Spritz. It's incredibly popular in Italy, especially in the northern region where I'm from. It's very refreshing, light, perfect for happy hour right before dinner. So let's get to it. I like to use a large glass like this one for my spritz, and I start adding up some ice. How much ice is really up to you. In this case, I put like 5 to 6 cubes. Then next, we're gonna add about 2 ounces of Aperol Spritz. That should do it. There we go. And then technically, you should add about 3 ounces of Prosecco, but I really go by the color of it, okay? So
I like that.
Until we get that very nice orange.
That's a true Italian right there, right, Julia? Go by the color.
That should do it. And then last but not least, we're gonna add a tiny bit of soda water.
Okay.
There you have it. And then the final touch is actually an orange slice, like this one. Nice here. And then you have it. That's your Italian Aperol Spritz.
Well, thank you, Julia. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Here's to Lima. Definitely. So I usually save this for the end, but since Julia's here, I'm going to talk a little bit about our session. As you all know, we do a happy hour session every week, and we also do a coffee talk. And next Wednesday on Coffee Talk, Julia will be one of our panelists, along with Patty Pereira, Martin Pereira, as well as Mark LaFarve, as well as Mike Hundert, and we're going to be talking about updates in design and manufacturing in a COVID environment. So we look forward to next Wednesday, 12:15 Eastern, to seeing Julia as well as everybody else for this illuminating discussion. So thank you, Julia. We appreciate it. We'll see you on Wednesday.
Thank you. Look forward to it. Salute.
Thank you. There you go. Excellent. All right. So Todd, are you ready?
Well, I guess I am.
You're going to do great. You got some amazing mentees waiting to just glean all the knowledge in the head from Todd Rogers. So let's go to our first mentee. This woman is, this woman/doctor is coming all the way from Atlanta. Amaka, are you there?
I am. Hi, how are you all?
Hi. Hey, Amaka, I'm doing well. Yourself?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you so much
Definitely.
for having me.
No, thanks for coming. So Amaka, tell us a little bit about who you are.
I am an optometrist. I've been practicing since 2012, and I practice here in the Atlanta area. And I am interested in independent eyewear and retailing going forward. So yeah, that's me.
Excellent. Do you know this guy, Todd Rogers?
I have met Todd. I met Todd at Vision Expo. So this is kind of like our second date.
Oh, wow. Wow. So Todd, you made quite a first impression. All right. So for those of you who just this is your first happy hour, each of our mentees will have a few minutes to ask Todd questions, and then we'll go to the other mentee. If you have any questions for Todd, feel free to use the chat box, or if you want to ask a live question, just use the raise your hand button, and we can have you come on live. So I'm going to shut up, and I'm going to let Amaka and Todd have their date.
Well, before I start with the questions for Todd, of course, we have to thank Terrence for always putting us together and connecting all of us. So just shout out to Terrence and thank you for that. Todd, how are you?
Great, yourself?
I'm okay, hanging in there. I'm a little nervous, but I'll just jump right into the questions. So first of all, your website is bomb. Love your website. I literally clicked on every single tab earlier this week. I've been there before, but this was the first time that I went in depth. So just super dope website.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So one thing I noticed is that your model, you are a wholesaler. Have you ever sold direct to the consumer or ever thought about it?
Well, that's an interesting question, especially right now and where we are. We haven't, because we've always been strongly an independent, smaller company, right? We have to start from somewhere. So we're always that seed, put it in the soil and watch it grow. And my thing as being an optician was supporting the optician, or should I say the 3 O's. And that's pretty much the way it's been. So, supporting the 3 O's, they support us. And it cuts down that extra layer, I guess you could say, of competition. So,
right.
So yeah, my wife just said something to me, but she was talking to kids. I'm so sorry.
That's okay, no problem.
So the interesting part is, though, if you think about it right now in time, we're at a kind of unprecedented time in the world, right? So, we'll see. If they say we're going to be locked in forever, it might be different.
Right. And I noticed that one thing I also liked about your site was you had somewhere where you said something about comrades and you listed other independent eyewear. I thought that was really dope, supporting, the industry and not seeing each other as competition, but boosting each other up. But that's not a question. So in starting your business, people are always trying to figure out when you're starting a new business, where to keep costs low and what to outsource. My question is, what do you think people should outsource immediately in this business if they're interested in starting a frame line? Like, what's one thing that just outsource it, pay for expertise?
So you're saying outsource for a frame line or an optical office?
A frame line, actually. Like, what did you do? What did you automatically say, okay, we can't do this in-house, I need somebody else? Or what was something you didn't know going into the business that you had somebody else?
So, I mean, I'm going to go kind of a roundabout way to answer your question.
Cool.
And there really wasn't something that I pretty much outsourced for the frame company, for the wholesale company, because, we knew that, I didn't own a factory, right? And that's not my life. So that was off the table. Everything else I pretty much did in-house. Okay. And a lot of it was trial and error. You have to kiss a lot of frogs, right, to get to where you want to be sometimes. And part of it was just learning and saying, all right, I took a lot of my years as an optician and said, all right, let's reverse engineer a lot of these frames and kind of figure this out. And with doing that, it allowed me not to outsource anything. And quite frankly, for me, I didn't want my design or my learning curve to be kind of impacted by someone else telling me this is how I should do it.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. So I guess that actually part of your answer segued into my next question. You said about a lot of trial and error and kissing a lot of frogs. What is something, you know, as a mentor that you would tell people, just avoid off top? Just don't kiss this particular frog. Make other mistakes, but don't make this one. What's one thing you could
Still
say?
talking about the frame line, correct?
Yes. Yes.
So do your research, okay? So this is gonna, once again, I'm gonna answer your questions, but I'm gonna do it in Todd style. You know, you wanna do your research at first, and you wanna kind of make sure that you look into as much as you can and figure out, you know, what it is that you want for an end result, okay? And then when you go to a factory or you go to a company or you go to whomever is helping you with this project, you won't deviate from your plan. And that's one of the things I see with a lot of companies out there. They actually deviate because they all of a sudden have someone putting something in their ear and it just takes them in a completely different direction. So, you know, I know the question you asked, but this is kind of a roundabout way of answering it. And I find that in this stage of starting that company, there's going to be not a direct line. It's going to be a lot of kind of coming around at different angles. So that's kind of, you know, I hope I answered your question there.
Actually, you did answer my question. I think, yeah, that's really important. I think there's not a lot on Google about starting these kind of things, these types of businesses. So sometimes you do get a little bit inundated with different ideas or opinions. So with that having been said, just for inspiration purposes, what's your favorite part about being independent?
Making your own rules.
Cheers.
Right? I mean, that's the truth of it. You know, my wife and I laugh because I have this expression, you know, I like to make my own rules, you know, because everybody else likes to follow the rules, but the rules don't follow me, right? And she's like, I don't get that. I don't understand that. But why do I have to follow something that doesn't follow me, right? And it sounds really weird, but it's just something that I've kind of thought over time. And I said, you know, certain rules pertain. Wear your mask, you know, wash your hands, etc. That's a real rule. But when it comes to doing something that you're passionate about or creating a company or designing a line, you write the rules. And you always have to remember that. I feel that's extremely important.
Cool. Thank you, Todd. This was a great second date.
Oh, dear. Oh, what are you drinking? Blue.
Something with some blue Sriracha.
You're not.
I'm trying to wean myself off of this COVID quarantine drink every day type thing. So I was like, I'm just gonna put something pretty in the glass and for everybody.
Love it.
You better, Bach. I hear Atlanta just reopened.
Atlanta's open. Lots going on.
That's a good way of putting it.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Abaka. You did an excellent job. Those questions were definitely from the heart, and especially that last one. I love that one about what's your favorite part about being independent, because Todd is definitely the guy that will give you the right answer to that. So we actually have a live question, Todd. I have someone, Nabil, can we unmute the great Barry Santini? You'd like to ask a question. I know it's gonna be a good one, isn't it, Todd?
I'm a little scared.
I don't know about that.
Hey, Barry, how's it going?
Good. How about you?
Good, good.
How's it going, Barry?
So the question is, in an era where a lot of brand companies are increasingly putting their foot into B2C, brand, you know, selling direct to the consumer, and I'm not sure, I really am not sure if supporting a retailer and doing brand to consumer are mutually exclusive. However, to date, no one's really come up with a strategy, especially the big boys, but No one's come up with a strategy that respects the indulgent nature of the free time we'll give a person prior to purchase and supports our profitability with price maintenance all at the same time. In other words, in my office, I find people, you may have a restricted distribution, not you, but just a product, but they think any channel that they can buy it is free game. And they aren't necessarily thinking that they're dissing or stealing service from me, and I don't want to even open that door and get into that discussion. So I don't know if it's an answerable question. I'm trying to create a strategy in my head that I could offer up, but I'm not successful so far. But do you think, since you said the companies are the people who get to make the rules, is this something that you think companies should be thinking about? In other words, that straddling of supporting the brick and mortar independent and putting my foot into B2C for the consumers that don't have access to seeing and touching. Tough question.
Yes. That's a really, really tough question. You know, one of the things that I like to say sometimes when someone asks a question that's very complex is I say, talk to me like I'm a 5-year-old, okay? And so the interesting part is when I have a tough question in my mind, I say that to myself. And there is a way that, I mean, the future is the future and we can't avoid the future, right? And the thing is, there's gonna be a moment where two worlds are gonna have to collide. Right? You look at everything that's going on right now, and I hate to say it, but everybody's all about price gouging, right? All right, you know, let's cut out the middleman. Let's do all this. Let's do all that. But someone's going to come along and support the independent optician, the optometrist, the ophthalmologist, as well as enable a D2C component, right? Who that is, we don't know. How it works, we don't 100% know. But it's the future. It's definitely coming.
Good answer, Todd. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. So let's move on now to our next mentee, Todd. This person's hailing all the way from our neighbors up north in Toronto. Joanne, are you with us? Hello, Joanne, are you there?
Oh, there we go. I'm
Excellent. I thought you may have stood Todd up on the date already.
Can't pass up on a second date with Todd.
So Joanne, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are?
So I am not an optician or an optometrist. I am a retail owner. I did graduate from with an arts degree. So I do look into kind of like Todd, having his own eyewear and a retail store. Currently, I have one retail store that's going on its 4th year, and I have another one that's coming up in the next couple of months. Hopefully, this COVID-19 doesn't, let's cross our fingers, Terrence.
Yes, yes, yes.
Hopefully, this COVID-19 doesn't push the renovations past another couple of months. It has been a big delay already. I'm pretty sure Todd might remember, but we were talking about a second store in when I saw him in Vegas, and that was in the summertime, right? In September?
September 2019.
So from September, I've already acquired my store, and I've been starting renovations, but everything's been pushed back because of the pandemic.
Are your landlords working with you?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Are the landlords working with you?
Unfortunately not. They're refusing to apply for the government financial relief. They're making us pay full rent. I do have one landlord that had reduced the rent by about 50%, but they still want us to pay for maintenance and taxes. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Right. Yeah. How about you? Are you paying for rent right now?
Well, we own our building, so.
Oh, perfect.
My landlord is not forgivable. He doesn't forgive me at all.
That's amazing.
Now, there's a landlord. Is that you or Lee, Todd?
You know what? I always answer to Lee.
There you go.
Excellent. Well, I just wanted to thank Terrence for putting this together.
Absolutely.
and it's a pleasure to see Todd again. So Todd, the last time we were at Vision Expo, we got to know a little bit about each other, but I wanted to know a little bit more about Todd Rogers Eyewear, a little bit more in detail. How did you get into designing eyewear?
So, interestingly enough, I had a couple friends call me up and ask me to help them with designing a product. They had a frame line that they were having problems with, and they said, "You're an optician." They weren't opticians, and they said, "Can you help me?" And I hopped on board. Hopped on a plane. I flew out to their place for a couple days and had a really cool meeting with a factory. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of blindsided a little bit. They were like, "Oh, I need some help. Can you come out?" I was like, "Yeah, sure. Let's go for it for a few days." And I went out and I actually redesigned. They were having a bridge issue, and I redesigned the bridges for them. And then the funny part was I was selling it about 6 months later.
Wow.
And I said to myself, you know what? I've always wanted to do this. Now, the interesting part is I wanted to be a women's clothing designer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the cards weren't there. And so when this kind of came up, I said, I think I can do this. And then I just started traveling and meeting factories and started designing.
Excellent. The second question I have for you is kind of plays off your designing. How are your designs produced and how do you get your ideas to come alive? I noticed that on your website you have 4 categories. One I believe you named after your son.
Yes. Yep.
That one's really cute because I wanted to name a line under my son as well. And then you had kind of like a bread and butter one that was essentials, and then one that said Todd Rogers. It's very Todd Rogers. And I believe you have one more. I just wanted to know how you come up with these ideas and how you make it happen. So
obviously we started out with the essential line, which was the first product. And then we had our first child, Jackson, our first boy, Jackson. And my wife, Lee, said to me one day, she's like, "Oh, by the way, when are you going to start designing a kids line?" I said, "I'm not going to design a kids line because not for nothing. It's difficult. They get broken and everybody wants a warranty, etc." Yeah. She's like, no, that was rhetorical. You're designing a kids line. So hence the kids line came, right? Wow. So that was 2 tiers. And then we decided that we wanted to kind of go up to a higher price point. And then we did our plaids. So we did beta titaniums. I designed a brand new hinge to work with our sunglasses. And then we went into our metals, which is in some really funky stuff, which is called our WIM. So WIM is kind of like, Lee came up with that, and she's like, you always say, I want to design this, I want to design that, because I do a ton of drawings, and probably, 90% of them end up in a basket someplace, right, or in a file someplace because they're too funky. Mm-hmm. And she's like, you got to do it. And we actually, funny part is, I'll tell you, the kids line, we kill it. Our kids line is bananas. And this WIM line, I was blown away how much it just sold out so quick. So that's kind of how we came about it. It wasn't me. It was this one over here. She's sitting at the island right now.
Well, I guess you guys work as a tag team, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hi, Lee.
Yeah, my dates.
We need a date with her next.
Yes. Should be amazing.
Yeah. So the next question I have for you, Todd, is what were some of the most important milestones after founding your eyewear company?
Super simple. The first time the truck, and I lived in the city, little in Boston, this 18-wheeler tried to pull up in my driveway and come down the street, and the guy was freaking because the streets were this big. Oh, wow. Old towns, right? Old city. And delivered the cases of frames. That was number 1. And number 2 was when we actually opened up our first account at Vision Expo. Mm-hmm. And it was Urban Optics in California, Dr. Dave. Amazing. Mm-hmm. Those were milestones where I was like, it just blew my head away.
Yeah, it's unforgettable, right?
Unforgettable, totally unforgettable.
Amazing. Terrence, do I have another few minutes?
You sure do.
Excellent. My next question is, what's the hardest part about designing eyewear?
So for me, I find it's difficult that I get a path, right? And I say to myself, okay, I want to design this way. So, or I want to design this type of product, this shape, this vibe, whatever you want to call it. And I start designing it. And then I go on Instagram. Worst thing for a designer ever. Because I start to see all these other brands and, oh, look at this, look at that. Or people promoting, hey, look at the blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, and it starts to pull my focus from that. Because I say to myself, well, maybe I should do something like that. And then I have to literally pull myself back in. And that's a difficult part of, that's my most difficult part of design, you know, is being focused. You know, sometimes there's a shiny object over here and I'm like, hey, what's that over there? And it kind of takes me from task. But that's pretty much my most difficult part.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. Next question I have for you is, which eyewear designer has made a lasting impact on you?
Good question.
So when I first started as an optician, I worked for a small practice and I found these amazing frames in the basement, of which I put out on the shelves and I merchandised them. And no one knew who they were or who designed it. It was the original Giorgio Armani. I mean, original. This is OG. And I put them out there and they were like, what's this? What's going on? And I sold them within a week because I educated them as who they are. You know, wanting to be a women's fashion designer, right? So fashion for me was, I knew it for a long time. I knew who the players were. I knew what was what. And I saw that. So Giorgio Armani is kind of my most iconic. But after that, I'd say Larry Light from Oliver Peoples, like he crushed it for me. Like, you know, I met him years ago and he wouldn't remember this. I met him a few times. I met him in New York City at a party. And then I went to the office in California when I was out there and chatted with him for a while. But made a huge impression on me. You know, great guy, amazing, you know, design sensibility. Just, so those are the two.
Wow. How do you see the future of eyewear?
You know, that's an interesting question. You know what gets me is everybody's talking about future of eyewear. Oh, you know, the future of eyewear is you're going to put like this little chip in there and you're going to do all these different components that's going to make it, you know, you can order dinner and you can answer your phone and all that stuff. But unfortunately, you know, I think they're all missing the beat and they're taking technology and they're putting style last, you know, but quite frankly, I think the future for me in eyewear, if you're talking about frames itself, is kind of unknown, right? Because I think as technology advances in that world, it's going to completely tweak, you know, how it comes out. But for a non-technology world, I think metals. And I'm looking at your face, and the whole time I'm saying to myself, "Oh my gosh!" I'm looking at that frame, and I'm like, "I love your frame," and it's metal.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I do actually quite like metal, and I think metal has been in the trends for many, many years, right? Like back then, it's just the classic aviator style, right? Exactly. And now it's coming back, so it's recycling, and I feel like metals has really stuck its gun.
But who's hanging on to this, right? Who's grabbing it right now? Everybody's kind of dabbling in a little bit. We did a new line. We did our new line that's metals and went deep in it. And because I'm like, all right, this is coming. This is coming. And I feel like the rest of the industry should grab hold of that.
What made you choose to do acetate before metals?
Well, when I started, acetate was the trend, right? So everybody was like acetate. And so obviously that's the easiest kind of like, you know, segue into it, right? And I've learned since we designed our new metal line, I've just learned they're completely opposite design kind of, you know, processes, right? Designing a acetate frame, now for me, I could do it in my sleep, and a metal frame, completely different.
All right, Terrence, is that all the time we have?
Yeah, Joanne, as always, you ask some of the best questions. I always appreciate your curiosity and how inquisitive you are. And I know that second location, knowing you and your tenacity, is going to do great. So good luck on everything.
Thank you. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Good to see you.
So Todd, you actually have another live question. We're going to unmute Morgan right now. And Morgan, I'm very excited for. She was what I was telling you about earlier. She has a collection, a brand called Taiki and Issa, and she was voted on by 8 members of the EDCFDA as one of the top upcoming talents for at Vision Expo. So Morgan, I'll let you take it from here.
Hi, thank you. I've been coming to these and trying to get as much info as possible, especially as a newcomer to the industry. As you know, you've had to go through it yourself. So I was curious, do you work with multiple factories to complete each of your collections, or do you work with one factory throughout the entire collection? Like, how do you deal with that?
In the beginning, it was one factory. You know, you make these relationships, and I'm going to kind of tail off a little bit, as everybody knows how I speak. But you know, I look at factories like hours in a day, right? So if you get factory time, you're blessed, right? There's only so many hours in a day to manufacture so many people. So, you know, as you start to diversify the company or the brand and you start to grow, you know, sometimes some factories can help you as, you know, to the capacity that you want. And then if you branch out and you start to go into different materials or you start to go into different kind of looks, some factories aren't really up on that. So you kind of diversify that way. So for us, we use a few different factories. And one of the things that, speaking of today, one of the things that I was saying to my wife recently is, I said, you know, it's pretty wild. When it hit, you know, overseas first, I said, you know, imagine if we just had one factory, you know, and COVID went into the factory in Japan or to China, you know, it would close it down and it would close our company down like that. So for me, I feel it's important to kind of diversify your frame portfolio, you know, so that that manufacturing portfolio is there and it gives you a little bit of a comfort zone. So if anything like this, I hate to say it now, the world has changed, as they say, and like this happens, you know, it covers you and it helps you in business.
Your factory doesn't get mad at you for working with other factories?
I don't know if they know, but I think they know.
Is that something that you just, it's hush hush, you don't talk about? Because I feel like, I don't know, I've had to work with my factory since I started through Skype and email, and then for the first time I finally was able to visit them in 2018, but I didn't know if there was any rules to dealing with the manufacturer. Like, do you not tell them you're working with another one? Do they understand if you work with another one? Especially if they mess up on something that caused some issues for you. Is it okay to like move your, like, I'm not sure what you're able to share, but if you know of any rules with dealing with manufacturers.
So I mean, the rules are, you know, if we're humans, right? We're ethical, we're moral, etc., right? And the interesting part is, I think that, you know, if someone's giving you a good product and they're giving you a good service and they're answering you, right? And they're saying, they're hearing what you're saying and they're saying, all right, this is what I want. This is the net result I want in my design or my quality, right? If they're delivering that, that's wonderful. If they're not delivering that, you taking that to someone else, it's business, right? Mm. But there's a mutual respect for sure. And I respect all of our companies, and we're very close with them, and they're wonderful. We have one of our factories, our kids' factory, was wonderful. As soon as COVID hit here, this woman over there had a friend who made masks over in China. She bought some and mailed them to us, and she's like, "I want you guys to be safe," and it was a beautiful thing. You know, so don't be afraid. You know, just you'll be good.
Amazing. Well, Morgan, thank you so much for your question, Morgan. We look forward to celebrating with Morgan at Vision Expo West. She will be showing her collection for the first time, and we have a very special gathering planned for her, as well as Spilt Milk Eyewear, who were both voted as a top talent by the EDCFDA. So let's head on to our next date. Our next date It's with a really good friend of mine out here in New York. Dr. Jen, are you there? Just stood up.
Okay. Hi.
Hey.
Hi, Jen, how's it going?
Good. Thank you for having me on here.
No, I'm glad you came. Why don't you tell us a little bit of who you are?
So I'm a practicing optometrist in New York City, and I spoke to Todd. I did the speed date as well last year in Vision Expo West, and at that time I think I was looking for a location to open up a cold start. And since then I've opened, well, it's not open yet. I found a location. It's in Hudson Yards. It's currently in construction, which has been delayed, just like Joanna, due to COVID. We're hoping that we can finally open the doors sometime first week of June. But it is a retail in the front and optometry in the back, focused on independent eyewear, personalized eye care treatment, and overall wellness. I also have a e-com blue light computer line called Carrot Eyewear, which is sold online, which is a separate business. But I had some questions to ask Todd. I think I had like 5 questions. I'm not sure which one to ask first. Just pick one.
Yeah, go ahead. It's your date. You are in control.
Okay. Let's start with a fun one. Why do you think people are willing to come to you specifically? What makes it special? Is it the service that you provide, the product that you provide, or is it your cool swag, your beard and your tattoo? What is it that makes you unique, and why do people come to you?
It's totally the beard and the tattoo. That's it. No. One of the things that we've always talked about at the office, or I've always talked about at the office and pressed and said that there's a summit here of any business's education. Okay. And that sounds funny because people will say to me often, like, what do you mean? Someone's coming in for a service, and what do you mean you're educating them? So we're educating them as to why they come to us, right? And then we educate them the services. We educate them, or the doctor educates them on the exam, okay? And then the flip side of that is we go to quality, and then we educate them on the quality, right? So there's this multi kind of faceted approach, right? But it's very linear. It's very real, because that's who we are as opticians, as designers, as whatever you want to call us, optometrists, ophthalmologists. The net result is we want to give someone the best visual acuity, service, quality that we can. And the funny part is people come in, and sometimes I'll say to them, here's the deal, 2 questions. I'm like, what? I'm like, you want me to educate you and bore you with the details, or you want me to tell you what you want? And a lot of people will say, bore me with the details. And I go down the rabbit hole, and it's all about why lenses, why this exam, why this machinery, why this frame. And for us, I find that's really kind of created an amazing following, an amazing family, as I like to say, because we adore everybody that comes in the office. We have a very, very small percentage of people who come in who are a pain in the ass. And we love that. And we respect them, and they respect us. And at the end of the day, when we're talking about all of those processes, education, quality, the eye exam you're getting, and why you're getting this comprehensive eye exam, and why Dr. Glenn is explaining this to you, at the end is the fit. And then we take a frame and we put it on them, and we tell them why we're putting it on them and why their lens is going to be best in this frame. Now, it's not just one frame, but probably I'd say probably 95% of the time they choose the first frame that we put on them. But as you know, you train, you educate your staff as well as yourself, as well as your patient base. You're picking up that first frame, and it's going to be perfect for their face.
Yeah.
So I find that for us gives us repeat business, and more importantly, they refer a ton of friends, family, whatever it is to us, which we really like.
Yeah. So I think that does build trust with the consumer to your customer. They trust you.
Absolutely. you know, trust is, it's not even a question, right? At that point, it's like trust is, it's real.
Awesome. I guess my next question is, what avenues of marketing do you use? Which method works the best? And about how much do you allocate towards what?
All right. I already said earlier, before we got on this whole thing, look at me, I'm an old man. How do I know? No, I'm teasing. So, you know, when we first started the frame line, it was interesting. I said, I don't want to start doing all this marketing campaign and getting it out there. I want to do a grassroots campaign. And, you know, people laughed at me. They were like, oh, you're crazy. What do you mean grassroots? You got to do this, you got to do that. Now, mind you, this was 12 years ago, 13 years ago. So there wasn't Instagram, and I don't think there was Facebook. Was there Facebook that time? I don't think so. Maybe. But right now we do a fair amount of Instagram, connected with Facebook. We do some really cool print ads where we live, and we take full page print ads, which we do, you know, total photo shoots on, and I'm usually the brunt of the joke because Lee does all of the design work, and we brainstorm how we're going to do this. And as far as social media and everything, we just kind of do our thing, and people kind of come to us, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm all about grassroots. Like, I want to, if we're independent, I want to be independent. You know, I want to put it out on the platforms that people go to in the morning. Like, my new thing is TikTok. Do you do TikTok?
I love TikTok. I have TikTok too.
Oh my gosh, I am obsessed with it. It's hilarious.
Go down a TikTok hole with that, but yeah.
Exactly, right? But and we're trying to figure out how we can use that for the frame line. And we have some really fun ideas because it's fun, it's engaging, right? It's not just, all right, swipe, do all that stuff. It's really fun. But other than that, it's pretty grassroots, right? And we're just I'm trying to be pure to the independent soul and saying, you know what, we're going to use the platforms we use, but I think word of mouth is really cool, especially everybody wants to be independent, then be independent. There's nothing holding you back.
Yeah. And it's a great way to grow organically, I think.
Yes.
Okay. I have another question, and my next question is, of the two things that you do focus on, which is frames design and wholesale versus running a retail optical, which one is more enjoyable for you and which one is more lucrative for you?
So the optical is, I love the optical because I'm there with our patients and clients and their family, like I said before, and I adore it. It's wonderful. And the best part for me is they're my guinea pigs to a certain extent. And what I mean by that is when I design new product or new frames,
Mm-hmm.
I try them on everyone first. They don't buy it. I'm like, all right, so can I put this on your face? Case in point, your bridge, right? So I designed a bridge specifically to fit that. Now some people will call it an Asian fit or a universal fit. And I redesigned that bridge to fit, I think, a little better so that it crosses over and it fits younger people as well who don't have much of a bridge developed yet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just, it's kind of where I'm at. I think this drink is getting to me. I literally was like, what was I talking about?
So you were saying that you find that retail optical is more enjoyable.
Exactly. Thank you for that.
Which one's more profitable, I guess?
It's definitely, I enjoy it more. I mean, I enjoy the frame division as well. Like, put me in Vision Expo. Are you kidding me? I am in love. I'm just in my element. Let me design some frames, not in a crunch. I love it. Put me in a crunch, I get a little, pushy. Which one's more profitable? They're about equal. Right now, they're about equal. I mean, we're an independent company, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're about equal.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do a fun one. The fun question is, who is Anna your muse, and what's the story behind that?
So Anna, we had a photographer who used to shoot all of our Todd Rogers Eyewear photography, who said one day, all right, so we're going to do a shoot in your city where I grew up in Boston. And Lee over there was like, all right, we're going to hit these locations. We're going to do this. We're literally going to bum rush people and be like, here, you look really cool. Put a Todd Rogers frame on. We're going to take a picture of you. And it's very Somerville kind of centric where I grew up. So this guy, Bob, said, I got a model for you. You're going to love her. I was like, okay, sure. So we're walking in this Davis Square in Somerville, walking down, and she's standing in front of the old Rosebud, which is it was like a train cart in the middle of a city, right? And so we're walking up, and he goes, "That's her right there." And she had a green plastic bag over her shoulder, smoking a butt, and she looked homeless. And I hate to say that, but I was like, "Are you talking?" And I looked, there's no one else. Are you talking about the homeless girl over there? And he literally picks up his camera, focuses, clicks a picture, and hands it to me. And that homeless girl with the bag and a cigarette looked like she could have been on Vogue.
Wow.
And it was so cool. I was completely blown away. And after that, she's done most of our campaigns because she's so universal. She cuts her hair and shaves her head a lot. Remember, did you see the video where I shaved her head?
Mm-hmm.
She puts a wig on and she looks like a completely different person. So that's my muse. Lee, my wife, kind of coined that phrase. She's my muse.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Should I ask more questions or move on?
I think that's the time we have, but appreciate it. Those are some really cool questions. So, and good luck on opening of Line of Sight Vision in Manhattan.
Thank you.
Next year at Vision Expo East, we're all going to go to Jen's practice and celebrate.
Absolutely.
Bring your ego. Just kidding.
There you go. So Todd, this next mentee, I am so intrigued by because she doesn't come from inside of the optical industry, but her hunger for knowledge is so refreshing. Denise, are you there?
I am. Can you hear?
I can hear you. Hear you very well. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
Good, good. So now that I have everybody intrigued, can you let everybody know who you are and what do you do?
Oh, absolutely. First and foremost, I just want to thank you, Terrence, for coordinating this speed dating. And thank you, Todd, again, for taking the time to meet with us. So everyone, my name is Denisha Freeman. And Terrence is right. I do not come with experience in the optical industry. I currently work in banking. I'm a senior taxonomy architect here in Charlotte, North Carolina. However, I do have a design background in women's apparel as well as stationery products. So happy to be here, but my pursuit is more on the entrepreneurship side and both in eyewear, frame design, as well as opening up my own retail store.
Well, please go ahead. What do you have to ask Todd? He's the man to ask these questions because he's a designer and has a retail store. So I think this would be a great date.
Okay, so I have quite a few questions. Number one is a loaded question. As a designer, you know, what is your inspiration? What drives your creativity? And how do you remain competitive in the market?
What drives my creativity?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's me.
You.
It's kind of funny. My whole life, every 3 to 4 years, I kind of change my brand. And it sounds kind of funny, but I will literally change my wardrobe. And I will change my haircut. Like my haircut right now, I've got more compliments on my darn haircut, right? And I cut it myself, right? With clippers. It was bananas. I was doing it and my wife walked in. She's like, "What are you doing?" I had this full-length mirror that I took from the guest room and I put it behind me to do all this stuff. But for me, it's like my inspiration is me. You know, do I take the world in account? Absolutely. And I say to myself, all right, so, you know, what's the vibe? You know, what's kind of dominant out there? But the interesting part is if you take the whole collective together and you look at it, it doesn't really mesh because, like I've said before, you get dragged out in different directions, right? You have to kind of figure out who you are. Like you have your vibe, right? You got to stay with that, right? The question is, when you're in that vibe and that inspiration of who you are you you? And you have to kind of strip it down, right? I think you have to strip it down and say, all right, the nucleus of me. Is this really me? If not, toss it out. I bought this in the closet, blah, blah, throw it out, give it away, donate it, move on. And I think that for me in the frame line, that's my kind of inspiration. It's definitely me. And I'm influenced, and my influences are a little odd and a little different,
Okay.
And it's not like a really odd thing, but it's
So
just.
what do you mean by odd?
I'll show you on our third date.
Okay, that works. Okay. The next question is, how do you balance being both an optician and also a designer? And what are some of the challenges and rewards of doing both?
Time. That's it. Real simple. Because I love them both. And time is the most precious commodity, as we all know, right? I mean, look at now in COVID, it's been what, 8 weeks, right? I mean, I used to get yelled at when we bought our building and redesigned our office and did this beautiful office, and then part of upstairs is our distribution. Like, this was my playground. Oh my gosh, if I was a single guy, I'd be like, hey, you want to come back to the office? Right? It was bananas. And it's all about time. My wife would be like, can you please come home? I know you love your office. Please come home.
Yeah.
But it's time.
Okay, that's good. The next question I have is, do you recommend designers becoming opticians?
No.
Okay.
Because it gets too blurry at that point, right? It just, you give someone, what's the expression? You give someone a little knowledge, and it just, but I think that it's important for them to go into, so he or she, as a designer, to go into that world. I'll tell you a funny story. People have asked me, what are a few of your problems or things you wish you didn't do in the industry? This is years ago. Chanel came into my office and they wanted to be in my office. And I looked at the product and I was like, yeah, no. This is when it first came out. First came out. I was like, yeah, no, it's not me. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, look at the design. The design isn't for lenses. It isn't this and that, right? That's great. But the problem is, when I finally said at one point before the total independence, I said, hey, I want to, and they said, yeah, no, we won't take you. It's the funniest thing ever. I was like, okay. They're like, right. So much for that.
Oh my goodness. Oh my God, funny. Yeah, that's too funny. So my next question is, what advice would you offer someone transitioning into entrepreneurship within this industry as both designer and retail owner?
Say that one more time.
What advice would you offer someone transitioning into entrepreneurship within the optical industry as both designer and retail owner?
So make a plan. Oh, did we lose her?
No, I'm here.
Oh, I thought all of a sudden you turned into Terrence.
Oh, no.
You don't want that. You don't want that sight.
Make a plan and be flexible. Okay. And do not, for 1 second, follow anyone else. Do not. Be who you are. Be independent. Be your own brand. Don't follow anyone else, because that, for me, is a kiss of death. And go for it.
Okay. That's really good advice. Okay. How much time do I have, Terrence?
You have about 2 more minutes, so you have time for another question. Yeah.
Okay. So speaking of design, like, are there certain design applications that you would prefer using over others? Like, I know there's Corel Draw, I know there's Adobe Illustrator. So what's preferred in designing frames? In addition to that, do you recommend any type of training and or resources?
Yeah, I mean, training is, the resources, or I should say the training is great. First thing I would do is go to where do you live?
I live in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, Charlotte. Love Charlotte. Love Charlotte. Oh my gosh. Our best, well, I hate to say this, Denise, our best rep is in Charlotte, or in North Carolina. Okay. Anyway, so she's gonna text me like, yeah. But I think, you know, going to your state board, because North Carolina is a licensed state, right? Go to your state board, talk to them, become friends with them, become one with them, join the association. Very important. You know, there's a number of opticians who do not join the associations. You should do it. Support them. They support you, right? But more importantly, you have a voice, right? Even if there's something you don't like, you have a voice, and that's key. They'll kind of direct you where to go, you know, but I think what would be really cool too is use the community. You know, get on these forums, talk to people, ask a question, see what they have to say, you know, build from there. And that's really important. But also, once again, if you see something different in this industry and you think, okay, I come from X, right? And I see that, you know, this could be changed or we could look at it differently, then stay with that. Keep the truth and go forward.
Okay. Now, as far as the design applications, which do you prefer over others? Like I said, I know there's CorelDRAW, I know there's Illustrator out there.
Ready?
Is there a preference? Oh, pen. Okay. Okay. This is taking back my design experience, pen and paper.
I draw everything. So,
okay.
So I draw everything. I mean, I'm pretty archaic. I must be, I have, like, curves, I use some tools to design curves. Like, I'm completely old school, draw it, and then I'll send it to factories, sketch it. And a lot of times what I'll do is draw it, or back in the old days when I had time, no kids, I'd take acetate, cut it out, shave it, figure it out, send it on, have a CAD drawing done, have a sample made, tweak it, and kind of go from there. But personally, I'm starting to go into the kind of digital world to a certain extent, but I still love the pen. Like, I used to get yelled at. My wife used to yell at me. She's like, will you stop drawing on the covers of my magazines? And I'd be like, what are you talking about? She's like, why does everybody have glasses, you know? So that's kind of fun. You know, give me a face or give me a shape and I'll create something from it. Sometimes I'll be watching a movie or I'll do something, oh my gosh, and I'll start to sketch a shape.
Okay, okay, okay. And I have one final question, if I can ask.
Yeah, go right ahead.
What are the top 5 lessons you learned during your career?
Okay, I wrote those down. Let me get my glasses.
Okay.
I'm actually wearing contacts tonight, which I never wear because I want my intermediate to be clear so I don't have to do this. So anyways, I wear progressives. All right, top 5 lessons. You ready? I wish I had a card like David Letterman. Throw it behind me. Don't carry debt. People are going to say, oh, no, you have to carry debt. You have to do all that stuff. Yes, certain debt is good. Don't carry debt, right? If you can go into this and you can use cash or you can do whatever you do, try not to carry debt. It helps you create a better business model for yourself as far as survival in the beginning, right? Some people are going to kill me for this, but don't overbuy. You know, we all get, you know, and this is it's the wholesaler too, right? But we all get kind of seduced into this world of like, oh, look at that frame. It's so smooth. It's so pretty. Oh my gosh, I want to take it, right? Don't do that. Figure out, make a plan. Board management is amazing. I don't understand why everyone doesn't do a specific form of board management, right? Just do it. You know, it will help you. Because what happens is, if you don't keep track, next thing you know, you have a ton of money in drawers sitting someplace, right? And then next thing you know, you drop a line, you discontinue something or whatever, you forget it in the drawer, it's money sitting in there. Okay, so that's second, okay?
Okay.
And then believe in your gut. You know that. Believe in your gut. It's important, right? Because you pretty much know. You know, you'll have some moments where you'll say, I don't know, and someone will talk you into it. Don't. Because bottom line is this: if someone's trying to talk you into something, but your gut's saying no, say no. Because guess what's going to happen? They're going to come back in, and you can say yes if your no was wrong. Okay. Biggest, and for you, most important, pay for quality opticians. Pay for a quality optician. Super important, right? Because if you don't, you try to save a couple bucks, it's going to bite you in the ass over and over and over again. And that was 4, right? Did I have 5?
Uh-huh.
Marry right.
My wife said marry right. Right? Oh, number 5. I forgot. Sell Todd Rogers.
There you go. There you go. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Todd. Thank you so much, Denisha. Really appreciate that. That was excellent. I knew this would be a good date, Denisha. What Todd is not telling you also is not only does he have an amazing collection, but I think it's 2018, he was Massachusetts Optician of the Year, and he also won the Vision Expo Optimum Retailer of the Year in 2018. So he's a really great resource. Also, Denisha, you may want to find Debbie Bartlett on here. She's the CEO of Todd Rogers Eyewear and also the president of the National Association for Opticians of America. She would be a good resource for you. You may want to find her in the chat and just send her a note. She's a really great resource. Hey, Debbie Bartlett. Hey, Debbie, give us a good wave. Let's unmute Debbie for a minute. Let's unmute Debbie. Hey, Debbie.
Can you hear me all right?
Nice to meet you, Debbie.
I can hear you. I can hear you. Good, good. I figured this would be a good resource.
I see some friendly faces there, that people that I know. Anyway, nice to see you all. Appreciate
Excellent.
God's comment about paying for a really good optician. So important. And I also appreciate his comment about joining your state association. Really important. Join the association that protects you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Debbie. Appreciate it. It's good seeing you. Thanks for coming
Nice to
out.
meet you.
Todd, you were amazing. You got through 4 dates in 1 hour.
Right?
So, excellent, excellent job. Really appreciate it.
My
Thank you
wife's
for
not mad at me.
exactly. Well, thank you for dropping all that knowledge on us. Really appreciate it, Todd. We'll have the recording out by Monday, but really appreciate you volunteering your time and being here. These speed dating events are always well supported and come far away. And speaking of which, next week we are going to have another speed dating event with another one of my big brothers in the industry, Mr. Gary Black. Gary Black is owner of Black Optical in Oklahoma, Tulsa, as well as in Dallas. I just love these, Todd, because you, as well as Gary and Wendy, all have different styles and are so successful at what you do, but it's always nice to hear the different advice that we get as well. So, yeah. So everyone, you might have received a poll that come up on your screen. Please make sure to fill out that poll. It helps us with feedback on what type of topics and what we need to do for future coffee talk sessions and happy hour sessions. We look forward to seeing you guys all on Wednesday for coffee talk at 12:15. Again, we're going to be talking about the fact that design and manufacturing side of the industry has had because of COVID-19. And we're going to speak with some really amazing people. Julia, our guest bartender, will be there again from Thema, Patty Pereira from Barton Pereira, and this will be moderated by Mike Hundred. So with this being said, we are signing off now. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Debbie, for being here. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Denisha. Thank you, Amaka. Thank you, Joanna. Thank you, Adam Simons from London, coming in from across the pond. We appreciate you being here. See you again soon, Adam. We appreciate you, Barry. Thank you for being here. Kat from Kazal. We appreciate it. Morgan, really appreciate your energy. And Alicia, we really appreciate your support, and so many other people. If I did not mention you, that does not mean that we do not love you. We love you all. And we will see you next week for Coffee Talk. So take care, guys.
Thanks, bud.
No, Todd, you were amazing. Thank you.
Miss you all.
Oh, man. Miss you too, bro. Miss you too. I can't wait till this is all up and I can drive to come see you.
That is a deal.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. We could do social distancing, and
forget about that. We're not doing that. We're cooking at home.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Definitely, definitely. So, hey, Lee.
Hey, bye.
I love your house, Lee. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime. You're always welcome.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for the next time I'm in Boston area as well. So, all right, guys. Well, I am going to sign off. Nabil, you have everything you need here.
We're good.
We're good. Liv, you said you needed something, or we're good?
Yeah, I just need to take screenshots of the poll real quick. Hold on 1 second.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Gary's speed dating next week. That's going to be interesting as well.
Right?
Yeah, I'm trying to get Ed Viner to come back on speed dating.
Really not?
You know, he has a lot going on right now, but he definitely wants to do it. With everything going on in Florida, they reopened in certain areas. He's traveling to Naples, he's traveling to Orlando, and Miami and everything. So we're just working out a date. But he's definitely game to do it. I said, Todd, I said we should do when Ed does it. We should get all of you guys to be his mentees. Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be cool? Like you, Gary, and Calvin, and Nate could be the mentees, and Ed could be the mentor.
Oh my gosh, that would be brilliant.
Wouldn't that be great?
We would love that.
No, you know what though? I wouldn't even tell him though. I'll let him know we have some mentees for him and let them come up one by one.
He would die. He would absolutely die. We've got, you know what? We have to do that.
Gotta do it, right? We gotta do it. I'm gonna convince them. I'm not gonna tell them who the mentees are. Maybe I'll pick like a new retailer to be the first one to throw them off a little bit, and then to go in just you and Calvin and Nate and Gary and yeah.
Let me know if he says
Okay.
I don't know. We'll do a group email and be like, I'll say, hey, my God, Terrence was saying, blah blah blah. Ed, you should be on this. It will.
Okay. I'll start it. I'll start the email this weekend.
All right.
All right. That sounds good. That sounds good.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you. All right, ladies. Thank you for everything. Appreciate it. Take care. Have a good one.
You too. I don't even know how to close this damn thing. Ah, there it is. Leave.